I want to take you back to a time when the world was a bit simpler, and the days seemed to stretch on forever. Picture Prince Edward Island in the 1870s, a place where the white sand beaches kissed the vast Atlantic, and rolling green fields were dotted with haystacks as far as the eye could see. This was my world at 10 years old, a humble yet idyllic life shaped by the salty ocean breezes and the warmth of a close-knit community. Our family home was a modest farmhouse perched atop a gentle hill overlooking the sea. The clapboard siding was weathered by years of harsh winters and salty air, but to me, it was a castle. Mornings began with the rooster's crow and the smell of freshly baked bread wafting from the kitchen. My mother, her hands always busy yet her face ever serene, would hum old tunes as she kneaded dough or churned butter. "Up with you now," she'd call, her voice melodic, the day's not getting any younger. My father was a man of few words but plenty of wisdom. His hands were rough from years of labor, but they were gentle when he'd ruffle my hair or guide me through the tasks of the day. "There's honesty in hard work, son," he'd often say, his eyes reflecting the clear blue of the sky. Together, we'd tend to the fields, the rich earth cool and damp under our boots, the scent of fresh soil mingling with the crisp morning air. One of my fondest memories is of harvesting potatoes with my family. We'd work side by side, laughter and stories making the labor feel light. My older sister, Margaret, always found a way to turn even the most mundane chores into an adventure. "Bet you can't find a bigger potato than this one," she'd tease, holding up a spud the size of a small melon. Of course, I'd accept the challenge, digging fervently while she chuckled at my determination. When the work was done, and the sun hung low in the sky, painting everything in hues of gold and pink, we'd gather on the porch. The sound of crickets filled the air, and the gentle lapping of waves provided a soothing backdrop. Father would sometimes bring out his fiddle, playing jigs that set our feet tapping. Mother would dance with us, her skirt swirling, eyes shining with joy. Those evenings were magic, simple moments woven into the fabric of my heart. The community on the island was like an extended family. Neighbors helped neighbors, and no gathering was complete without a hearty meal and spirited conversation. I recall Mrs. O'Leary, our elderly neighbor with a twinkle in her eye and a jar of sweets always at the ready. "A growing boy needs his treats," she'd say, slipping me a candy when mother wasn't looking. Her stories of the old country were filled with leprechauns and fairies, leaving me wide-eyed and full of wonder. School was a one-room schoolhouse at the edge of the village, a short walk through a path lined with wildflowers. The scent of blooming lupins filled the air, and butterflies danced around us as we made our way. Mr. Thompson, a teacher, was a stern yet fair man who believed in the power of knowledge. "The world is bigger than this island, but everything you need to learn about it starts here," he'd tell us, pointing to a worn map that hung on the wall. Winter brought its own adventures. The ponds would freeze over, and we'd lace up our skates, well-worn blades handed down through siblings, and glide across the glassy surface. The air was crisp, each breath a puff of steam, and the sound of laughter echoed across the frozen landscape. Once, I attempted a daring spin, only to end up sprawled on the ice. My friends roared with laughter, and even I couldn't help but join in. "Maybe stick to straight lines for now," Father chuckled when I recounted the tale at dinner. The 1870s brought whispers of change to our tranquil island. News of the Confederation and Prince Edward Islands joining Canada reached us, stirring conversations among the adults. Some worried about the future, while others saw opportunity. I remember sitting under the kitchen table, listening as Father discussed the railroad coming to the island. "It'll bring goods and people," he mused, "but it might take away some of our peace." At 10, the concept was vast, but I sensed the significance. Sundays were reserved for church and rest. The little chapel near the shore was a place of solace and community. The scent of polished wood and burning candles filled the air as hymns rose to the rafters. Reverend McAllister's sermons were passionate, his voice rising and falling like the tides. "Faith and love will guide you through the storms of life," he'd proclaim, words that settled deep into my young soul. One summer day stands out vividly. A traveling fair came to the island, a rare and exciting event. The air was thick with the smell of popcorn and sweet taffy. Brightly colored tents sprouted like mushrooms, and the sound of music and delighted screams filled the air. I spent my saved pennies on a turn at the ring toss, winning a small wooden whistle. The sound it made was shrill, much to Mother's chagrin, but it was a treasure to me. Evenings often found me on the beach, toes digging into the cool sand as I gazed out at the endless horizon. The ocean was a constant companion, its moods as changeable as the sky. Sometimes calm and reflective, other times wild and tumultuous. I loved the feel of the salty breeze on my face, the cry of the gulls overhead, and the distant silhouette of ships sailing toward unknown destinations. I dream of adventures beyond the island, my imagination fueled by tales from sailors and the worn pages of books. Hard work was a given in our lives, but it was interwoven with joy and a sense of purpose. Helping with the harvest wasn't just a chore, it was a rite of passage. The feel of the rough burlap sacks, the earthy scent of the crops, and the satisfaction of seeing the barn filled for winter were rewards in themselves. Father taught me the value of perseverance. "The land gives back what you put into it," he'd say, wiping the sweat from his brow. The simplicity of our days was something I only came to appreciate fully in later years. At the time, it was just life, uncomplicated and rich in its own way. We didn't have much in the way of material wealth, but our lives were abundant with experiences that shaped us. Traditions were honored, like the annual Christmas Eve gathering where the entire village would come together, each family bringing a dish to share. The aroma of roasted meats, spiced cider, and freshly baked pies filled the hall, creating a tapestry of scents that to this day bring a smile to my face. Looking back, I realize how much those formative years taught me. From my parents, I learned the importance of honesty, hard work, and kindness. From my community, I understood the power of unity and support. The innocence of childhood shielded us from the harsher realities of the world, yet the lessons we absorbed prepared us for whatever lay ahead. As I share these memories with you, I can almost hear the distant echo of laughter carried on the sea breeze. The faces of those I loved come alive in my mind, the warmth of Mother's smile, the steady presence of Father, the mischief in Margaret's eyes. The island wasn't just a place, it was a living, breathing part of who I am. The historic events of the time, like the coming of the railroad and joining the Confederation, were the undercurrents that began to shift our way of life. They brought change, some welcome, some met with hesitation. But even as the world beyond our shores beckoned, the core values instilled in us remained steadfast. In the quiet moments, I find myself yearning for the simplicity of those days. Skating on frost-covered ponds, the thrill of helping with the harvest, and the endless possibilities that filled my dreams. Life moved at a slower pace, allowing us to savor each moment fully. Prince Edward Island in the 1870s was more than just my home, it was the backdrop of a childhood filled with wonder, love, and invaluable lessons. The simplicity of that era taught me to appreciate the small things, a warm loaf of bread, the embrace of the ocean breeze, the laughter shared with loved ones. It was a time when hard work was a given, but so was the joy that came from it. The values of honesty, community, and faith were the compass points that guided us. As I reflect on those years, I am filled with a profound sense of nostalgia and affection. The island and its people shaped me in ways that continue to influence my life. I hope that in sharing these memories, you've caught a glimpse of the magic that was my boyhood, a time and place where the world's edges seemed defined by the horizon, yet the lessons learned were boundless.